You okay, buddy? You all right? I see you got moves.
I'm great.
I see you
For now.
bobbing and weaving. You feel the need?
know.
What it do, Snackers, Snack S, and Snack X's? It's your boy Gage. I'm here with Sin. You are now tuned in to Loading Snacks Weekly, where we get together once a week and we talk about things that are happening in pop culture. And today, before you ask, I don't know if Jokes is coming or not. I don't know.
Facts.
We don't know. You know what I'm saying? We know he's out there.
Mm-hmm.
What's up,
Doc?
Doc? I'm assuming he's coming. I mean, that's just an assumption though.
Right.
I cannot say for sure. That's where we are, right, Sin?
That is exactly where we are.
So, having gotten that out of the way, Sin, who's gonna be the first late person to pop in the chat and go, no jokes? Where's Jokes? Who's gonna be?
J. Robert.
You think so?
It's between.
Look at it. Trying to figure it out. Is it J. Robert?
I'm going with J. Robert.
Hey, Ma, is it? You think J. Robert? Since today has zero energy, I don't know what that means.
I don't know either.
I don't know what that means.
I don't.
Everything okay, sis? Something you want to share with the?
Far as I know, everything is fine.
I mean, I'm not sure what's going on. Carnage, what up?
Long time no hear from.
Yeah, so there's a lot to discuss today, sort of.
Okay.
There's not a lot of news, but there's a lot to discuss about the news that does exist. So here's the thing. Sin, that's not jokes. Sin. Oh, when he repeats today, that part.
Oh, yeah, when I was filling in for jokes.
Got it. Sin, you do your job.
Okay, so let's shout out our top tier patrons, starting with Anthony Cunningham, Marcus Houston, Susan Dortch, Tyrone Carson, Meticulous Skin, and Alex Lee. Thank you very much. We truly, truly appreciate it.
That is an absolute fact. We appreciate you, and if you would like to join those other illustrious Patreon members in that wonderful list of names, you can do so. Just go to Patreon and check out the list of options for how you can help us to further this business for ourselves. Sin.
Yo.
We posted our response to question of the month, correct?
Yes, we did.
And that question, Heather sent us that question in particular. Mm-hmm. She was the first one to send one in. I know there's some other things that kind of slid in. They were
here we go.
Hey, dog, listen.
Here we go. Already starting.
Hey, Ty, what's up, bro? How you doing, man? I hope everything's all right. You're having a wonderful day. I'm sure you are.
Oh, he is.
Ty says DC forever. We're going to discuss that because hashtag fire James Gunn was definitely trending today for some reason. Sin?
Yeah.
There is a lot of DC news.
Mm-hmm.
Should we start there? You want to start there? No, we're not. You know what?
No.
We're not going to start there. We're not going to start there. Here's where I want to start. We're going to start with E3. So today, it was pseudo announced that all three of the big three game, not publishers, but the console manufacturers in Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch, none of them are going to be at E3. None of them are going to have a presence on the show floor. They're not going to be there at all. Before I get into the details, what details I do have, because there aren't a lot, but they exist. Sin? does this mean for the health? What does this mean for the health of E3?
That is dead. Unless they're gonna switch it up and do some whole new format, do something completely new, something different, or something like that. If they're trying to stick to the old ways, it's done. Like you can't have E3 with none of those three there. Like it's just
You don't
feel.
think so?
Not that's what I said. Unless they switch something up and do something completely different and make E3 still about gaming, but something new, something different.
Yeah.
I don't think it can fit in its old format the way we've grown up with E3 without having those heavy hitters there. Like it's not going to feel right. It's not going to be the same because E3, like, well, not just that E3, but EA doesn't even really do that stuff anymore. So it's not like they would have that to fall back on, stuff like that. It's just ever since the pandemic and all that stuff getting shut down, everybody's found new ways to deliver their information just themselves to everybody. Like,
I mean, listen, Sony was already on that, right? Before the pandemic was a thing, they were like, we're done with this, which I get, right? Because the ESA charges an exorbitant amount of money to have space on their show floor. Because he said E3 looks suspect. I mean, it does, but here's the thing. You can't even call it E3. Look.
What up, Perk?
What's up, Perk? Let me give y'all a little bit of honest to goodness, real, true background for us. When we started loading snacks, E3 was the dream. E3 was like, you know what? Because originally this was about video games. It was really supposed to be, more than anything, a podcast about gaming and video games, just because that's what we do and we love it. And so we talked about it. Like the ultimate thing was like, at some point, we're going to get ourselves to a point where we can get press. We can go to E3. They're going to let us in. They're going to have to, right? And over time, just call it E. I mean, the 3 doesn't have anything to do with them. That is I dig it though, because then it would just be in the entertainment expo, which I guess if they figure out something else to do, that would be E2 though. I guess it's not. It'd just be expo. And I've done stuff similar to E3, and I know Joke has too. And so the idea of doing that kind of began to dwindle because, as we talked about it, the reality of it was it would be so difficult to cover everything that is technically happening, because all you really want is to go to those press conferences.
Maybe get your hands on a demo or two, but we know the lines are ridiculously long for that type of stuff. So
well, look, at best, right? You try to position yourself to be in like a behind closed doors demo. The ones that everybody else can't get to, especially now that they have begun to try to open E3 to the public the way that Gamescom is and stuff like that, right? Like them lines. If you think the lines waiting to see One Piece at an anime convention or something, so Kai, the lines to wait to play 10 minutes of a game that's not out yet at a Nintendo booth is stupid. And I'm talking about doing that and at things that are nowhere near as big as E3, right? But something that is really designed for the press. That's what E3 was really about. And now that, you all right, buddy? Okay. Now that E3 is like all of the information you really need to get out of E3 has all been given to you digitally anyway. It just became one of those things like, I don't know that we need to do that. Like, I feel like we could actually cover more and get more news and share more information with our followers and fans than we could if we were there, because we just wouldn't be able to get to everything and then get it done and get it posted or get it up, whatever. So it kind of stopped making sense. But here's the thing. EA hasn't had a booth for 6 years, I think.
And to answer your question from earlier, I was right. First one to say something.
Mama James, we don't know. We don't know where Joke is. Somewhere. And I haven't seen Tatiana pop up in the chat yet. So I'm sure she's there though. Which I'm sure she'll let me know now.
Right.
This is the thing, Sin.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't had press conferences. Like Sony hasn't done a press conference in years for E3. Like they haven't.
Yeah.
Nintendo hasn't done a press conference for years.
Yep.
EA has done their own thing technically before E3 on Saturdays. Microsoft has always had the Sunday, but technically all of those press conferences were always before E3 starts anyway. Like E3 always started on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And the press conferences were always Sunday, Monday.
Yeah.
So while the press conferences were kind of like kickoffs for those things, E3 itself and the show floor being open was only open for like Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. And like there was some bits of information that came after that. But most of the rest of the information, unless somebody has something at one of those, there she is. Unless somebody else who was a publisher or a developer or something did something in conjunction with one of the major platform holders. They had something specific at the Xbox showcase or something specific at the Nintendo showcase or something like that. The only way to really get that information, like you either had to be there, like that was stuff we missed anyway. Like you know what I mean? Like, so the three of them not having a presence on the show floor, combined with the fact that none of them have really had an actual press conference that's technically E3 in years. Microsoft is still saying they are going to time a press conference with somewhere around like E3 adjacent, right?
Okay.
Which means probably somewhere where between Summer Games Fest, right, and whatever E3 ends up being.
Yeah.
But like, if we're gonna get the Xbox showcase or press conference or whatever they do anyway, and if Sony decides to do something, like last year they didn't do, I think they did something like 2 weeks before.
Like
they didn't technically do anything for E3. Nintendo usually does like Treehouse,
right?
But you know they do a Nintendo Direct whenever they feel like it, and don't really participate. EA didn't have a press conference last year. So nobody has a press conference anyway. Then as far as the show floor is concerned, and them being like, yeah, we're not going to be there on the show floor, right? What is the point in paying them millions of dollars to have a space? However, when you consider Embracer Group and all of the publishers and developers that they've purchased over the last like 6 years, or THQ Nordic, and all of the stuff that they purchased over the last few years, and Devolver Digital and all their little indie games and stuff like that they have every year. Like they do a press conference every year. You know what I mean? Like all of the rest of the publishers, everybody else, maybe Ubisoft does something, but they in trouble right now. Like,
yeah.
If I had to guess, Ubisoft getting snatched up in the next 3 years. Somebody's buying them. They doing a deal.
The ship. Yeah, they need to write the ship.
They doing a deal. I'm like,
if they would do it sooner before later, I agree with that.
If this Microsoft Activation thing doesn't go through, Microsoft is going to buy Call of Duty from Activision, and then they're gonna buy Ubisoft, and they're just gonna let Square Enix go to Sony.
Go to Sony.
That's because Square Enix is in trouble too.
That would be too funny. That'd be too funny to see all the fanboys getting mad again. Like, yeah, they're not getting Blizzard Activision. Yeah, we're just gonna buy Call of Duty then. Just bring that over here.
You can't even Like you can't even stop that. Like if they just like, yeah, we're just gonna sell the IP. There's nothing you can do.
Yep.
Right? Like at that point, that's not like them spending $70 billion, to buy the entire company and get all their assets. Now it'll probably be a ridiculous amount of money.
Oh yeah.
Right. But if they were like, yeah, well, or if they just bought one of the studios from them that does it and bought the IP, that's but I don't know, man. Like I think E3 as a here's what I think. I think E3 is in a place now where I need Xbox or keep UB. I play so many UB games. Nah, you play like 2. You play like 2 UB games. Like maybe
Valhalla 2 and Rainbow Six. I think this.
No, I mean, no, not Rainbow Six. I mean, Extraction. But even that was like, Extraction is Game Pass. Like, we don't even, like, let's not even, there's, I don't know. They've been struggling. Well, would you look at that?
Funny how things happen.
Look at who just decided to join us. Here's the thing. I feel like E3 is
things happen.
Like PAX West. It's gonna be like maybe like MagFest is to us. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like E3, if they decide to do it, E3, like the press doesn't need E3 in order to get the information they need anymore, and neither do marketers don't need it either. You know what I mean? Like E3 was for like the buyers at Sears and Roebuck to go to that joint and be like, oh, these are the games that we need to make orders for the holiday. You know what I mean? Because people are really gonna like this or whatever. Like that's what it was for.
Okay.
The press would talk about it, and the buyers would go in. Best Buy.
Forgot about Division. Yeah, that was the other one I couldn't think of.
That's Division and AC. I mean, Extraction. If we jump, you know what I mean. But like, I got a bad feeling about Extraction and what's going on with that anyway. But hey, bro, listen. When Just Dance ain't popping, like Just Dance is not.
Just Dance will never go away.
Frank, no, it's down. It's gone. Like it's like Just Dance is like on its way out. Like it's tanking. That was yeah. That was part of what they talked about when that whole thing happened with Yves Guillemot, and he was saying like, this is on y'all. Y'all have to get it together and start putting stuff out.
That and Mario, the new Mario Rabbids game. They were like extremely mad that they underperformed.
Yeah. And like Just Dance never underperforms, but let's be real. Who's the new kid? I don't know, but he's dressed like his twin brother in the upper.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a possibility, depending on what they want to do. Like, if the ESA wants to continue to make money in some manner, they're gonna have to be. I don't even think they can continue to be what Gamescom is, because Gamescom was already in that format, right? And I just don't think that E3 is prepared to be as big of a draw here in the US as Gamescom is, or as Tokyo Game Show is, for real. So, or for real, even what Paris Games Week is. Like, it's just, I just don't think, like, because we have so many other things, like PAX East, PAX West, PAX South, MagFest, MagWest, like, there's plenty of places to go for publishers to take their games and show stuff off and whatever. And even though PAX and stuff like that has generally been more indie, that might be the space that the ESA has to be in order for E3 to continue to be a thing. Because otherwise, we already have CES. And we don't really have to have... I mean, even if you really think about it, like, Sony chose CES to debut the PlayStation VR 2. Now, it makes sense because it's supposed to be coming out in a couple weeks. But the reality of it is, like, the PSVR, bruh, is about to be... Like, I don't know what they're doing. We're going to switch gears real quick. Who has seen an advertisement for PSVR 2? That joint's supposed to drop. 2 weeks.
Nothing. They haven't done like any. There hasn't been like. I feel like there's been one. There's one commercial that like melds like games. I don't even know if they're necessarily for the VR. Like I feel like it was just to say like, oh, here's games. Oh, PlayStation VR.
You're talking about that advertisement that dropped yesterday.
Yeah, but other than that,
nobody cared though, because the only
Right.
thing that stood out to people about that was that it looked like they were advertising a new Uncharted, and that joint came out the day after. Naughty Dog was like, "Yeah, we done with Uncharted. We told that story and we done with it." And then they put this joint out, and it's basically like, "Oh, that looks like it must be an Uncharted game." Clearly, they're gonna have somebody else do it. Like
I thought I saw somebody read today with PSVR, like they're scaling back production because the pre-orders have been underwhelming for it.
I believe it.
So, but here's the thing: they did say that. That was the rumor, right? Was that they scaled back their production to like half because pre-orders and so forth have been underwhelming. However, Sony says they didn't scale it back at all. That like what they're putting out is what they always intended to put out or what they were going to do.
Sure.
I don't believe it.
No,
you still have to do it. It's like, but still, the PSVR costs more than a PlayStation 5.
Does.
And that's what's crazy.
Nope.
And people can barely get those. I mean, you can get them now, but like,
right. To sit and play VR games that, for the most part, probably is going to be a lot of shovelware involved with the VR stuff.
Listen, 1,000%. 1,000%. There will be, and part of the reason for that is going to be because there isn't going to be enough of an install base. The beauty of the first PSVR was that the PlayStation 4 already had an insane install base, and then it dropped at a price point that was like malleable. Like you could deal with it if you really wanted to do it. Hey, Jokes. Is Sin frozen on your screen? Because he's frozen on my screen.
Nah, he moving.
I'm
okay. I'm just. Hey, listen. I'm just. Hey, listen, bro. I was just asking a question. Don't panic. I was just asking a question. Yeah. So, who knows, man? Look, E3. I don't know if I'm willing to call E3 dead, but certainly E3 as we knew it
is pretty much done.
Yeah,
but it hasn't been what we've known it to be for at least 3-4 years. That's somebody's entire college education. That's literally somebody being like, the last time E3 was cranking, I was in middle school. You know what I'm saying? Like that's like, you know what I mean? And they going to college now or something like that. Like it doesn't. That's a long time, especially in tech. Like that's a long time. So I don't know. Jokes. Now that you're here, since we're already talking about video games, and yes, I am purposely making Ty wait for us to talk about these.
Was he in the beginning? My man actually Ty's in the back.
Oh, he's here.
Oh, for sure. Oh, he jumped in.
Oh, he came in swinging.
Dog, he came in this joint like it's James Gunn's birthday, and he got invited to the party. Get out of here. I'm gonna let you talk about what happened with Rumbleverse because it matters to you more than it matters to us, but still, it was a thing. So I'll let you talk about Rumbleverse since we on video games anyway.
Make it simple. So if folks that aren't familiar, Rumbleverse is pretty much the combination of take an idea of Fortnite with just like the tons of people in a battle arena and you're throwing in wrestling. Like literally that's what Rumbleverse is. But they just made the announcement they are taking the game offline. I'm a little surprised because just from what I've seen and read, it was a pretty solid fan base behind it that was working pretty well. It seems like it's more of the behind the scenes stuff that obviously we don't get to see that's causing the game to actually shut down. The good thing is if you did put money into the game and you purchase cosmetics or whatever, they are going to refund all that. Rumbleverse is completely online, so it's not like it has like a single player campaign that you can just continuously play. When it gets shut down, like it's a wrap. You will not be able to play this in any shape or form. But like Yeah, I'm a little sad to see it happen. Like, if this is becoming like a norm with certain games, like in this type of realm, that it gets like a year and maybe it come out. Same thing like now. What is it? Apex Mobile is also getting the axe. Saw that as well too. It's a mobile game.
Apex Mobile. I think the difference is that, I mean, Apex already has a success story just on console. Like Apex is
definitely
fine. Apex Mobile isn't, I guess, doing so well, or they've decided that whatever hands they have on deck that are doing that, they need to pull them to do something else, something that makes more sense and or is more lucrative. And I'm gonna tell you what I think that is in a second. I want to circle back to Rumbleverse real quick. The thing I find most interesting about Rumbleverse is that I don't think Rumbleverse is even a year old. That's one.
It's not.
I think it came out last summer. Two, it's how abrupt it is. Usually when they announce that they're sunsetting a game or the servers are going offline or something like that, you have a few months.
Yeah,
this
you gotta ramp
like,
up for it. Nope. Next month?
No. February 28th, we're done. It's over. I hope you had a good time. You know what I'm saying? We're sad to see it go. Nothing we can do. Now, Jokes, who owns Rumbleverse?
Is that under? Actually, I don't even know who actually has a Rumbleverse under there.
You look that up because I think that's something interesting too. But while you do that, I'm gonna circle back to Apex Legends.
Iron Galaxy Studio. Oh, Epic by Epic Games.
Exactly. So the same people who own Fortnite are sunsetting Rumbleverse. Here's what I find interesting about that. I think they might be taking certain assets or certain things from Rumbleverse and moving them into
Fortnite. That makes sense.
That's what I think. That's what I think is happening. I think that they are because Epic has stupid money. They just do, right? And so even if for whatever reason Rumbleverse isn't quite hitting where they want, all they really have to do is put a mode with no guns and physical altercations in the Fortnite.
They got me back in. I was like,
exactly, where you already have skins and you already have a base where people are buying and playing them, because their other thing is Rocket League, and Rocket League ain't going nowhere.
Nope.
Right? So that's, I think, the thing that's crazy is basically they took a formula that they already have that's tried and true and did it without guns. People seem to be in it, but I think there's other ways to do it. And I have a feeling that somehow we'll see that circle back to Fortnite. That's what I think. Okay. I feel the same way about Apex. So Apex Legends is made by who?
Respawn.
What game just got delayed?
Star Wars.
Star Wars. Who makes Star Wars?
Respawn makes Star Wars.
Respawn makes Star Wars. So if you're going, all right, Apex is cool, but we need to pull some resources because we need to put the finishing touches on this game that's already supposed to be coming out this month. And now we pushed it back
6 weeks.
And we need to polish it and fix it up and blah, blah, blah. What do you think is happening to those people that they had working on?
They just sliding over to the Star Wars side.
That's what I really think it is. Like, I think it's just, this isn't working. It's not really making us money. This is the biggest thing we have happening. Like, for EA has been sneaking little decent joints out the door. Very, like, for a company that 2 years ago was the most hated video game company on the planet. I don't care how you slice it. I mean, don't get it wrong. Like, Activision did some stuff that, you know what I mean? And Riot did some things that, but still EA was like, if you ask people, they just hated EA. But now, right? Because Battlefield was like, for years in a row, has been like,
especially them early launch months or even years. It's a lot of patching, a lot of updates, a lot to get it fixed to even be playable.
So is it even worth it? However, right, when you look at EA owns BioWare, what's BioWare been doing? How's their stuff been coming along? It ain't been looking real good, right? But they sneak out like the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, you know what I'm saying? With the trilogy in it, and people are like, oh, this is cool, and it's got everybody loves it, and it's going really well. And then, like just now, they just put out the Dead Space joint. Okay, Dead Space, everybody loves it. That joint's getting 9s and 10s across the board. Where the Callisto Protocol, which is made by the person that created Dead Space, and is supposed to be the spiritual successor to Dead Space, comes out and people are like, this isn't it. That joint came out a month ago. Dead Space, the old Dead Space, gets a remake, comes out now, and it's like, boom. People are like, oh yeah, no, this is it, right? Okay, so EA's got, and then for as much as I didn't think Jedi Fallen Order was a great game, everybody else loved it. I'm cool with that, right? I understand it for what it is. This next joint has to hit because what EA has behind their name with Star Wars and in a fight to make sure that they're able to keep a Star Wars license, right? Because now they had the Star Wars license to themselves exclusively for a decade and did nothing, next to nothing. What they did do, most people didn't like. Battlefront was like, Battlefront 2 was like, right? Fallen Order comes out and it's like, oh, all right, this is what we want. So Fallen Order 2, like,
has to hit on
that joint needs to hit.
Yeah.
It does. Because it's the biggest thing they have going on. It's the thing that they have that will bring in people that don't care about video games, that have nothing to do with, you know what I mean? Like, it's just.
And not only is it the biggest thing they have, it's one of the biggest titles to release this year. So, yeah. So
it's it's what people are waiting for. It's one of the most anticipated. It has to be right. Has to be right. So if you're EA and you're looking at what you got going on, if you're Respawn, and as Respawn, you're basically the only developer that EA owns that is hitting. You don't want to mess that up.
No, I got to keep it up.
Because what you have that is working is Apex, which, still in that Titanfall universe, even though it's not a new Titanfall. You have Apex, and that's working. You just stealth dropped it. You dropped it. Here it is. It's available. Y'all jump in and play, and it just worked. Right? And then you have Star Wars. And that's what they do right now. They do Apex and they do Star Wars. Apex,
they're winning at it.
That joint can go. You know what I mean? Let Call of Duty have mobile. Let PUBG have mobile.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Because they also pulled the plug on Battlefield Mobile as well, too. So
I saw that, The mobile space ain't working. It's pulling resources to the actual properties. Yeah, and just
again,
keep it there.
But you also have to consider Microsoft just announced 2 days ago for their second quarter earnings. So they're in their second fiscal quarter for 2023, right? So, and Sony's earnings are supposed to hit next week. Microsoft's earnings showed that their monthly active users is way up. Way up. It's like 104 million a month or something crazy like that or whatever, right? But that's across everything. So you're selling way less Xboxes than everybody else, but you're on TVs and you're in phones and you're on tablets and you're on PCs and whatever. And so your monthly active users, which again is the thing that Shuhei Yoshida from Sony was like, we really shouldn't be counting console sales. We need to be counting monthly active users because that's what tells you how healthy the base is. You got people that buy a PlayStation that turn it on once a year, play Madden, and they'll never play it again. You know what I mean? But the people that you keep in your ecosystem, your monthly active users tells you that you have people that are not just playing on within your ecosystem, but they're purchasing within your ecosystem. They're looking at the other things, and that is important because they use that to advertise to you. It's just like Netflix being able to say we have this many subscribers, right? And that data is important. So if they're using that data to be able to advertise to you, then the number of active users, especially across multiple devices, even if you don't own an Xbox, even if you've never purchased an Xbox, even if you've never held an Xbox controller, if you're playing Fortnite on a TV, on an iPhone, on whatever, and you're doing it through them, that looks good for them. If you're Battlefield and you're already in bed with Microsoft, who has EA, and they can do cloud streaming, why would you do a mobile version of the joint when you can just have a real version of the game?
Yeah.
Why would you? And that includes Apex. Like, why would you do that? Well, you can just play Apex instead of playing Apex Mobile. Like, why would you do that?
Right.
That makes sense. So
yeah, it doesn't.
Those small things, like those announcements, those little shutdowns, like they don't always seem like, they're sad. I hope nobody loses their job. You know what I mean? I hope, what we're thinking is what it really is, that people are actually just going to be pulled and moved over to work and other stuff. Because again, you clearly need some help getting to the finish line for this really, really big game that you have coming in. Hopefully that doesn't mean that once y'all get it out the door, well, now you know what I mean? Whatever, right? But if you're Microsoft and you just laid off 10,000 people, right? And trust me, quietly, every other company did the same thing. All of the tech companies doing the same thing. Google did the same thing. Like, everybody did the same thing. And now you're like, well, we need help to get these things over, across the finish line. We have all these games that are supposed to be coming out this year. We have all these deadlines that we missed last year. We didn't hit. We got to be able to do it. So when you look at those little things, it's like, it don't really matter to me. I was never going to play those games on mobile anyway. Somebody was. It's an audience for it. I'm not even. All right. Let's pull them. Let's get this other thing that has a much bigger audience so we can put them on that. That's kind of where I think that sits. All right, should we talk about DC, or should I do one more thing before we do that and make Ty wait a little longer?
Wait a little longer.
A little longer.
Just let him stew for a little bit.
Let's talk about Paramount Plus and Showtime. Hey, dog, listen. Everybody's gobbling everybody and everything. When I saw this announcement, Paramount Plus is now going to be Paramount Plus with Showtime.
Ooh.
They are combining Paramount Plus and Showtime. And Showtime's cable channels are now going to be Paramount Plus with Showtime.
Okay.
So all the Paramount Plus stuff now gets the Showtime stuff. Showtime channel. If you have cable and you have Showtime on cable TV, now you get the Paramount stuff too. They have not announced how it's going to affect pricing.
Okay.
They have not announced, like, if you are a Paramount Plus subscriber but not a Showtime subscriber, what that means. They have not announced, like, you can have like Amazon Prime and get like Showtime through Amazon Prime. They haven't announced what that means or how that's going to be affected. All they really did say was that the dude that's in charge of Showtime and the dude that's in charge of Paramount Plus are both going to still be in charge of their respective things.
And each other's properties are going to show up on each other's service.
Hey, bruh.
Okay.
Now, they did announce some cancellations.
I did see I think that's a couple of those.
None of it was stuff that I cared about. There might have been one thing, but not enough for me to like go into it here. Look, this kind of weird, like those streaming wars that we were going through a couple of years ago, where it was like everybody was trying to grab properties. For the most part, that seems to be over. And now it's just who can gobble up who bought those properties and fold those properties into their own. And what it's going to cost, and whether or not it just drives people back to cable. I don't, you know what I mean? I don't know.
I know, it's funny.
Here's what I'll tell you. Well, I have listened and probably even complained myself that, like, man, by the time you get all these streaming services so you can watch stuff you want, you might as well just pay for cable.
Pay for cable again. Yep.
Here's why that's wrong. Well, here's what's wrong about that. Cable TV only lets you watch what they show you. Streaming, you can watch whatever you want. That's there. You just go in. It's a library. It's like going to the library. You just go and pick what you want. That's, That's what it is. And what I don't think people are going to be willing to give up is that freedom to choose what they want to watch and when.
Yep.
And how. Along with where, in a way. Right? Like, if you want to pick up and watch your, HBO Max on your phone, you can. Or you can wait till you get home and watch on your TV or watch on your Xbox or whatever. So I don't think people will be willing to give that up. And so I think that's always going to be a thing now that they'll have over cable, because otherwise, I mean, there is some on-demand stuff, but it's not like that. Then like, you just go in here and scroll through this entire library. It's people who spend more time scrolling through the library than they do watching what's in there.
So true.
Just kind of what happens. All right. Cable providers are now charging fees up to $30 a month for local access charges for subscribers to be able to watch local channels. I mean, it doesn't surprise me, only because satellite did so much to take over that space, and that's what satellite did for so long, because it was satellite. So you had to pay for your like local packaging, and that's about what it was. It was like $30 a month to I guess it depended on what local package you were getting, but it was usually somewhere between $15 and $30 a month to do it through satellite. So, it's, which is still all relative and subject to change. Like the concept of people being like, oh man, Netflix has such and such show, and then they lose the rights to that show or lose the rights to that show in this country or whatever it is, and now you can't watch there anymore or somewhere else. It's literally no different than them having a fight about who has the NFL package on what service every year. Like them going back and forth. Well, if you want NFL, you better get DirecTV because they have the, you know what I mean? And like, it's or for a while, I think HBO wasn't available on like Dish, but somebody else had it. They do that stuff. Like it happens all the time anyway. People just pull their package and it's like,
yeah, matter of fact, they just did that. They just did that YouTube TV, even though I don't watch it. They just sent out an email about MLB. So apparently MLB has pulled whatever agreements they had with YouTube to have YouTube TV to have their stuff on there. They're like, they do the typical rigmarole, like, oh, we couldn't reach an agreement with the MLB. So for now, everything's going to get pulled. Your recordings are gone and all that. We hope to get back with them sometime in the future. And sometimes those partnerships end up, working themselves back out, but then some just end up going away. And MLB, I think, has their own package as well too, that you just pay for like $150 or something like that a year, and you can watch every MLB game anyway. So.
Right, but it has to be available to so wherever you want to watch it. It's that stuff. I mean, again, think about what you just said. They can take away your recordings.
Trifling.
Better go get yourself a VHS or DVD recorder hookup.
I knew I should put my money in TiVo a long time ago, because TiVo owns television, period, bro. But they own it all, bro. Almost all streaming, even if you get it through somebody else, almost all of that is done by TiVo. Almost all of it. All movies, all TV shows, almost all of it is done using TiVo streaming tech. So, or Sling Media's tech, one or two of them usually. All right, man. Let's see if we can make J. Robert Deans upset by talking about James Gunn.
That's probably definitely gonna happen.
Well, that's wonderful. That most of what you want to watch is public domain. That's for sure. Look, I'm gonna try to share this video. We'll see how it goes. Internet's been temperamental. We're gonna see what happens. I'm hoping it works, but if it doesn't,
I can give it a shot on my side.
Talk about it.
James Gunn. I'm the co-CEO of DC Studios. So as many of you know, DC has been disconnected in film and television for a long time. And it's one.
No,
I'm going to stop it right there.
No.
What time say? What time say?
Here we go.
Excited. His homies on screen. So here's a listen. This is like a 6-minute video. I am gonna be stopping this. We're gonna talk about some of what they're talking about as they're doing.
As it's going.
Right?
Okay.
So that we're not doing so much talking over it and so forth.
Yeah.
But here's what I like about this. Straight up, coming out and just being like, look, you guys know we've been terrible. Like we've been disconnected across TV and film and whatever, and it's not really making a lot of sense. And basically saying I've been brought in to try to help fix that. That's what it is. What Cuddy say?
So we don't need to see the speech. Let's just go on to how much of a mess this new universe will be.
Nah, I mean, let's continue. Let's continue.
One of, our jobs, mine and Peter's, is to come in and make sure the DCU is connected in film, television, gaming, and animation. That the characters are consistent, played by the same actors, and it works within one story. And if something is outside of that, like Matt Reeves' Batman or Todd Phillips' Joker or Teen Titans Go, that it is clearly labeled as DC Elseworlds, outside of the mainstream DCU continuity. Now, Peter.
All right. So that's the first thing. We now have DC Elseworld, which is anything that falls outside of the DCU continuity. Notice it's not DCEU, it's DCU. What's I going to say?
Not hopeful, but I do have an open mind on this.
Dig it. I like that they threw gaming in there. Television, film, gaming. That's interesting to me. And animation. So I think that in and of itself is kind of smart too. It does mean a lot of people might miss some things if they put some stuff in games, but we'll see where it goes.
Peter and I have gotten pretty lucky in terms of the 4 projects that are coming out over the next year. First, we have Shazam, Fury of the Gods. Shazam has always been off kind of in his own part of the DCU, so he connects very well. That moves directly into The Flash, a fantastic movie that I really love that resets the entire DC universe. Then to move into Blue Beetle, a fantastic film about a kid who's a marvelous part of the DCU, and then into Aquaman 2, which leads directly into our next few projects, which I'm going to tell you about now. So,
all right. So before we get into those next projects, let's talk about what we just had laid out for us. Shazam, we already know is coming. They just dropped a new trailer. Did y'all watch the new trailer?
Did not watch the trailer yet.
I haven't seen it.
All right, you didn't really miss anything. Yeah. You didn't really miss anything. How are we feeling about Shazam 2?
I feel okay about it. Like with how the first one was, I feel like they'll continue the way they'll go into it. I think Shazam, overall is solid. I think within the confines of what it's been so far, it's solid. Now, if the second one drops the ball, then of course, I mean, we could expect it. But I feel solid about Shazam right now.
Yeah, I think if they keep to the same format they, ran with the first time, I think the second one will be fine. It'll be a solid movie because, overall, we think Shazam is the best one of all the DC EU joints that come out so far. So I have hope that it'll be at least as good as the first one.
Did either of you see that there were supposed to be talks between Gunn and Batista for Batista to play Bane? Did you see that?
I did see that.
And did you see that apparently they confirmed today that that's not happening?
Yeah, they already confirmed. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Him saying that is leading into the Flash. Do you think literally leading into the Flash, or do you just think he means that the Flash is the next movie?
I think there'll be some type of nod, even if it's just something, just something like maybe. I don't want to say that they're going to come and have a full-on conversation with each other or something like that, but maybe it will be the fact that Shazam will acknowledge the fact that, oh, there's this super fast guy that apparently is like 2 cities over or something, just to at least at that point put the 2 connections together. Because once the Flash movie comes, like, if this is going to be a total reset and like we'll Flashpoint this, there's a chance that Shazam could end up just going away, depending on how things play out. I don't think we'll see that happen, but that is absolutely something with the way Flashpoint or whatever they'll call it or do at that point could happen.
If I had to guess based on what is coming after these 4 movies, I would say Shazam is a wrap, but not necessarily.
Ty said Batista wants Lex Luthor, and he's all here for it.
I don't,
hold on.
Yeah, when we say that again.
Repeat that.
Sure. From the words of Tyrone Carson, he said Batista wants Lex Luthor, and I'm all for it.
Wants Lex Luthor to do what?
No, I think Batista wants to play Lex Luthor, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't heard that. Now that one I hadn't heard. Listen,
I was gonna say no. Say no.
Batista, I will say, I like the range of roles that he has played, and it's something that I could have an open mind for to see.
Hold on, what range?
Let me just from his roles, like the roles that he's acting in have been very different. I didn't say necessarily they're the best things in the place. What?
Different from what?
Just different. Like not
what
like
role?
I mean, he's been in Bond. He's been in Glass Onion. No, I'm only saying this because the roles that the characters that he's played.
I'm not laughing at you.
He's just trying.
Rob said Batista is Lex, who is Superman. Michael Cera.
I'm just saying, Batista has played different characters. Like they're not like the same. Like someone has played. Like I'm gonna use Kiefer Sutherland. The new show that I sent you the trailer for, Low. Even though it's different, it's not 24. It still seems like it's in that it's in that same type of world universe. Batista has been, Guardians of the Galaxy, a funner, wilder type of adventure versus what is it, Cabin at the Woods? What is it called? That's getting ready to come out. A more serious,
Knock at the Door.
Knock at the Door. Thank you. What the fuck was I thinking?
It's a knock at the door at a cabin in the woods. So I get you. Yeah.
But these are like different genres, different type of roles that you would play. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, all right, I can't. All right,
that's all I'm saying. I would have an open mind, but realistically, seeing Port, I would say no. But I would at least have an open mind for it. Put him in the Elseworld zone. You know what? Let him be Lex Luthor. Elseworld zone. It don't stand in the DCU, but you can see it.
Right, so
cool. Hey, I just said I'm open to it. Like,
nah, listen, it's cool. I'm just gonna say that, like, I think Batista generally plays the same character within different genres. Like, sure, sometimes he's funnier than he is in others, but he still basically plays the same. Like, he's still pretty much typecast as just like the big burly dude that just, you know what I'm saying? For the most part, like it's not unlike The Rock for the most part. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying they're not good or that he's not good at doing what he does within the confines of that, but like, I wouldn't, you know what? You right, jokes. Keep an open mind. So, Flash resets everything, right? And then we get Blue Beetle. So, which I suppose could be. I mean, I have high hopes for Blue Beetle. I really do. That for me is the most left field right now, because I just think of all the characters that they have decided to pull from, Blue Beetle is the least known, and so I have the highest hopes for it because I just feel like they can do the most with it, and I feel like people will go in
more open-minded
with the lowest with the lowest expectations, and therefore more open-minded with what happens with it. And then Aquaman 2. which I feel like would just be it's just happening to happen because they have Jason Momoa and they shouldn't let him go, and he's probably on contract.
Probably, yeah.
That's kind of what I think with that. So let's get into the new stuff, shall we?
Yes.
Go for it.
Peter and I, along with a group of very talented writers, have started to map out an 8 to 10 year plan of what DC Studios will be in film, television, and gaming. This first chapter is called Gods and Monsters. Now, this, what I'm about to tell you, is a part of the first chapter. It's not the entire first chapter. The first project is Creature Commandos. Creature Commandos is an animated series. I've written all the episodes. Something we're going to do that's a little bit different at DC is we're going to have characters move into animation, out of animation, usually having the same actor play their voice as who plays them in live action. The next project up is Waller.
Do we have thoughts about Creature Commandos?
Right now, I'm indifferent because I know nothing about them.
Yeah,
So,
and
I see characters. I see characters I recognize.
there's a couple I recognize,
including that stupid weasel.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah. I like the idea of bringing in like a few characters that I have no idea about. Like, obviously, I'm not into DC comics as much as I was with Marvel side, so I like seeing a few characters that I'm familiar with, but then a bunch that I'm not familiar with. So it's a new story that I can kind of jump into and learn and grow with. So I'm happy they are kind of sprinkling some new with some familiarity in there for it. So I'm open to it. And then having the cast, the characters being able to voice animated, jump into live action. I can't wait. I don't know if I'm just there just yet.
Jay Roberts said he loved the Creature Commando comics from decades ago, so he's willing to give it a go.
So I'm happy to learn something.
Even though James Gunn wrote every episode, J. Robert D's wrote every episode. That's all. I'm just, maybe there's gonna be a lot of music.
Yeah.
That's all.
For sure.
All right, let's go on and learn about Waller. So that's TV animation.
He said, even though, yes.
This is a story of Amanda Waller, played by Viola Davis. Viola Davis is going to team up with members of Team Peacemaker, and this is a story that's been created by Crystal Henry, who did Watchmen, and Jeremy Carver, who created the Doom Patrol. It is a fantastic story that's out of this world, and I can't wait for people to see it. Okay.
All right. Waller, live action TV, Viola Davis. I'm with that. Seems like it'll be continuing Peacemaker, right? It's going to be people from that team or that crew. Again, there was a lot of backlash a couple of weeks ago about James Gunn seeming to now kind of position the DCU around his wife. Did y'all see that?
I didn't see that. Yeah.
Okay. So there was a lot of pushback about that. There's not, mention of it here, but there is a part of me that feels like she might kind of be like their Coulson in this, that she's kind of like in some of everything, just like how she was in Black Adam, which I feel like that maybe wasn't supposed to be a thing and ended up being a thing, but I digress. Waller, I'm here for. I'm very interested to see what they do with that. I like that they're keeping Viola Davis. I think she's perfect for the role.
She's perfect.
She's just she is it. She is Amanda Waller for me. Like I dare say that Viola Davis as Amanda Waller might be the best casting that they have done. Period for the DCU.
I can get behind that.
All right. Sin, cover your ears.
Oh,
okay.
Super douche.
Next up is the big one, the true beginning of the DCU. This is called Superman Legacy. This is being written by me. I'm in the middle of it. I'm having a great time doing it. And Superman will be released into theaters July 11th, 2025. Okay, the next thing.
So we have an actual date, July 11th, 2025. And he is still in the middle of writing it.
That's what he said.
That I find interesting. We'll see what happens. They got to cast somebody.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot that has to happen with that. But full movie in the theaters, July 11, 2025. All I want to know is, does this joint come out on that date?
I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say yes.
Okay. I like the faith in Gunn we trust, y'all. Here we go. Okay, it's starting to happen. In Gunn we trust.
Hey, I think my man, he's got a lot, and I know obviously planning is one thing, and then really doing the execution. But folks are going to be looking at him with a fine-tooth comb, so I'm sure he's going to want to try to hit as many of these, especially giving dates, hitting as many of these. Now, don't get we know things happen, but I know he's going to try. They're going to try to keep these things on track. But as connected as these things can be, and we know how, let's say, obviously, you said video games. We see how video games will get pushed back in a heartbeat to make sure things are polished, clean, whatever you want to say. How does that throw off movies in this case then? I think that would be one thing to see how many of those fit in the middle of it.
Well, I can tell you right now, he doesn't announce any games.
No, not this. No. But like how he said,
games,
part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that would be whatever. I have to imagine that whatever it is that they're doing that is supposed to fall within the continuity is probably happening right now. And it could have in some way to do with Kill the Justice League, but more than likely that's going to be considered Elseworlds.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. Okay. Let's go on to the next thing.
Thing is a big premiere HBO television series called Lanterns. This is a story of a couple of Green Lanterns, Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan, and we have a few other Lanterns peppered in there, but this is really a terrestrial-based TV show, which is almost like True Detective with a couple of Green Lanterns who are space cops watching over Precinct Earth. In it, they discover a terrifying mystery that ties into our larger story of the DCU. Next.
Let me tell you what I like about this. I like one that is both of the two main Green Lanterns that most people want. That's the first thing. The second thing is the idea of it being like True Detective. I like that, right? Because we've said this many times, but I think a lot of what has allowed Marvel to be successful in what they have done, not just with TV shows, but especially with movies, is that they have taken what is technically supposed to be a superhero genre, a superhero movie, and allowed it to be other types of movies, political thrillers and so forth, right? Space comedy, whatever it is, right? So I think that's a smart move. I think it's really good. I hope it turns out the way that we want it, and we just have to see how casting is, and we have to see how they budget it, what kind of money they put behind it for it to be a show, and you know, we'll see how the effects turn out.
Yeah.
But I'm, as of right now, that might be the thing I'm most excited for.
I am fully in agreement with that.
These Lanterns. All right, let's move on.
This is a big movie called The Authority. The Authority is a passion project of mine. It's based on the marvelous Wildstorm characters we are now bringing into the DCU and will interact with all of our primary DCU characters. The Authority are a group of superheroes who think the world is broken and they want to fix it by any means necessary. I think it's a very different look at superheroes. We're doing a television series called Paradise Lost.
Anybody have anything to say about The Authority? I think it's cool that they're bringing in Wildstorm characters to the DCU. I think that's dope. Like
I'm looking forward to The Authority. So a team I don't know nothing about. Like I say, they're from all that's the Wildstorm stuff. So I'm looking forward to learning about them.
That's where I'm at too. I after I'm gonna do some digging to know some backstory from comics. They just to kind of get an idea, but I like same thing. Sin, I just like it because it's something I am not familiar with at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, there are characters from that universe that like
Let's see.
I
Todd says
didn't
he's
know
looking
from
for
Wildstorm. I
lanterns.
know him from before. What's that? What he
No,
say?
Todd said he's looking forward to lanterns for the same reason.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let's see what else we got here. Jay Roberts says he never liked The Authority. The fact that it's a gun passion project says a lot about his idea of heroes.
Well, I mean, it's not different from like The Boys in a way. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it is, but yeah, I mean, look, it being a passion project for him could again just be more about actually doing something to bring in characters that are owned by DC but didn't come from DC.
Mm-hmm.
And that tie to like Jim Lee and old image stuff and stuff like that. Like there's just a lot that I think could be really cool about doing it. I couldn't tell you that I'm a fan of The Authority specifically, but I'm familiar with a couple of the characters and like some of those characters from old groups and other stuff they were in. All right, let's listen to this Paradise Lost joint.
Paradise Lost is the story of Paradise Island, usually known as Themyscira, which is the birthplace of Wonder Woman. It's almost like Game of Thrones with Westeros, but with all of the inhabitants of Paradise Island. The introduction of the DCU's Batman is The Brave and the Bold. The Brave and the Bold is the story of Batman and his actual son, Damian Wayne. This is based on Grant Morrison's great comic book run. Damian Wayne is my favorite Robin. He's a little assassin who Batman tries to get in line, and so this is the story of the two of them and the beginning of sort of the Bat family in the DCU. Next up is a TV series called Booster Gold. Booster Gold is one of comics' really popular cult heroes. He is a fascinating guy. He's a loser from the future who uses future technology to come back to present day and become a superhero so that people will love him. It is basically the superhero story of imposter syndrome on an HBO Max series. One of my favorite comic book series from last year was Tom King's run on Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. And so we're going to turn that into a big science fiction epic film. Now, Superman is a guy who was sent to Earth and raised by loving parents, whereas Supergirl in this story, she is a character who was raised on a chunk of Krypton. She watched everybody around her perish in some terrible way, so she's a much more jaded character. And that brings me to Swamp Thing, the last thing we're going to talk about, a very dark horror story in the origins of the monster who is Swamp Thing. And although it's totally outside of the rest of the DCU, it will still feed into the rest of the stories.
Okay, so that's all the announcements, is everything.
Mm-hmm.
I think Supergirl getting her own movie, I think is dope. I'm here for the direction they seem to want to go with that.
I like it.
Swamp Thing being a horror movie, I'm here for that. What Perp say?
He's hyped for Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
Hey, listen. Saying who's my main though? That Swamp Thing, bro.
Swamp Thing.
That dude, he's too powerful. The green. Yeah. I mean,
Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow is going to be good. So if you haven't, read it.
Okay. I probably won't, but just because at this point it's like I'll just wait and go into the movie, and that way I can go into the movie and then I can go back. I feel like if I try to read it first, then I'll go in with certain expectations, and then I might be disappointed with what they do, possibly. If I had already read it and was familiar with it, then I think I'd be okay. But if I go read it now because I have an expectation, even just based on what he said, then I might it'll probably throw it off. So I probably had to wait until afterwards. That doesn't mean I won't buy it now, so I already have it. That way I won't forget to do it. But yeah, all right. Let me hear out what the rest of it has to say, and then we'll talk a little bit about what we think is going on with everything.
Anyway, those are the stories that I can tell you about right now. I've loved the DC characters since I was a child. They're incredibly important to me. I knew that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to do something very different. One of the things that's very important for me in all of these movies and TV series is that the director's vision and the vision of the writers and all of the creators is unique and something special. Storytelling is always king. That's all that matters to us. And I want to be true to those stories. I want to be true to you guys and really give you something different than you've ever seen before. Anyway, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you watching. I hope this was exciting for you because it's really exciting for me. And I can't wait to start to dive into these stories with you guys on this grand adventure. Thank you so much.
Okay. Jokes?
Mm-hmm.
Overall thoughts?
I'm happy with what I heard. I like the plan laid out. I am actually I'm in a good spot right now, so I'm eager to see how they pull things together. We'll get through this last part with like Shazam, Flash, see like I guess those few tie-ins to see where we lead to. But overall, I'm in a good place right now with what James put out for us to see.
Do we have release dates for Flash or Blue Beetle or Aquaman?
I feel like they're not yet. There were dates, and then I know a couple things got pushed back, and then it's just
that means they have to be out. I'd say by the end of next year. If by July we're supposed to have Superman, maybe at worst like February or something like that of 2025 for Aquaman 2, if that's the case.
The thing I was thinking though was when James Gunn said that the Flash movie is like one of the greatest things that he's ever seen or read, like that.
He doesn't mean that. He doesn't say that. He doesn't mean that. He just has to say it, right? You have to say it because you have to do something to try to. Because anything you say about the Flash movie, with all of what's being talked about behind that, with people wanting to like boycott it and all that kind of stuff behind Ezra Miller, it's like
Flash is in June apparently going to tie.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't even know if I'm gonna see that joint.
June 23rd. I'm gonna see it. Like just as being a fan of.
All right, so so hold on. All of these joints supposed to come out this year?
Apparently,
Aquaman and Flash, I knew were this year. That I just know the dates got shifted.
Okay.
Blue Beetle, that one I don't think that they put. Oh, he says Blue Beetle in August. I didn't think they had a release date for that.
June, August, and December, dog. That is. I mean, all right. I mean, just get them out the door. It doesn't really matter what happens with them because nobody really cares.
Yeah, because it's not. Yeah,
August.
We start everything over.
Like it is, but it's not. That is kind of crazy though to have all 4 of those movies come out this year. But I do feel like they
just need to get it out. Just do it. I mean, because what you know about Flash and Aquaman, weren't they supposed to originally come out last year though? And then they got knocked into this year. I'm pretty sure. I definitely know Flash was supposed to come out last year, and then they pushed it.
Hold on, put that back up. I need to read that.
Oh, okay.
Cuddy says the only issue is that things will be all over the place, closing out the old and restarting. We're gonna have 2 Batmans, and I'm hopeful for Damian as Robin.
Yeah, well, we got that.
I mean, I don't.
As long as they do a good job.
I think he was pretty clear. What?
So I was gonna say, as long as they do a good job of really branding the idea of Elseworlds being separate from everything, and make sure that the general public kind of get to know that who aren't in the know before these things start happening. Where 2 Batman movies come out, but one is taking place with the main story, and one is a side thing in another world. As long as they drive that point home and picture people know it, it should be.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the most interesting thing about that is that like him specifically calling out like Teen Titans Go, and
that
being
was
like,
interesting.
That needs to be set as like elsewhere. How are you branding that? What are you doing? Does that mean we're gonna see a new DC logo that says DC Elsewhere? Is DCE DC Elsewhere and DCU is DC Universe? Like.
Teen Titans, however they do it, Teen Titans will make
very
fun of it.
clear about what they do. Sure, and I think they have to be very careful about what they do and how they brand it. I do think though that something like Teen Titans Go is one of the safest places to introduce these other characters that people haven't heard of first. So right now, my biggest concern remains Who is their target audience? Under the tutelage of James Gunn, right now, the target audience is rated R, 17 and up, period. And how well that works and what that means for sales and for tickets and so forth certainly isn't going to touch what Disney is doing with Marvel. It just isn't. It can't. It's not possible. So how they run that line, I have to imagine that these animated series that they're talking about having are going to be vulgar, adult, rated M for mature, if you will, right? Because that is what James Gunn has done. If you're doing Waller and Waller is in tune with Peacemaker, then they're basically the same show, right? Just focusing on a different character from within that, from within that show. And so that's what that has to be. So I do think that fundamentally we have, while continuity has been an issue for the DCU, for sure, the thing that we have consistently come back to in talking about issues that DC has in being able to compete with what it is that Marvel is doing is that in and of itself. It is going for a particular audience, but not knowing what that audience is. Is Harley Quinn for adults or is Harley Quinn for children, right? And not being able to figure that out. I do think that it sounds like under James Gunn, we've made a decision. We're going hard. Like that's what we're doing, right? Does that mean that in some way, shape, or form, they might have to adjust that in order to kind of bring that down? Hard to say. J. Robert Dean says, this is my concern. James Gunn had to rein it in for Guardians of the Galaxy. These films and shows need to be accessible to at least 13 plus kids. So here's the thing. Why does it need to be accessible for kids 13? I think it needs to be in order for them to honestly compete dollar for dollar with what Marvel's doing. I agree. James said F them kids. I think I honestly believe that there's part of it. And I think that there may be, because they are specifically calling out, because they mentioned Teen Titans Go, because they specifically called out, even though something like what they're doing with the Batman, right? And them saying that's separate universe, and the Joker, again, both films that are adult, you know what I mean? They're not for kids. These are still characters, though, especially in Batman, that we consistently push to kids constantly. That's what it is, right? I think that at least attempting to do something to try to make a clear delineation between, it's almost like having to put a parental advisory on music. You know what I mean? It's like, yes, this character is who the character is, but this thing that this character is in is okay for kids. But even if you just say elsewhere, that doesn't work, because you do have stuff currently that would sit in elsewhere that isn't for kids. Right. So I do still think they need to figure that out. But it sounds to me like they're like, nah. JR needs exactly to grow the audience and compete. 13 plus is the target to beat Marvel. Ideal would be 8 plus. I agree. Look, there may be, and it just sometimes if they go dark, they need to go dark, fully committed, and that's what it sounds like they're doing to me. But here's where I'm at. I think sometimes there is a way to say our differentiator is this. Like, we're not I don't even know if they believe that they can compete with Marvel, to be honest. On a like dollar for dollar scale, I don't think they believe that they can compete with Marvel. So I think that it makes more sense for them to go, all right, if we can't do that in this space, Marvel owns the market share. Let's to an extent carve our own lane, right? Because if the success of a show like The Boys has taught us anything, is that there is a lane for it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
They at one point owned The Boys. Why are you letting somebody else come in and take that lane? Right? Do I think it's the smartest thing to do? Maybe, because I'm not positive that they can compete any other way. Not with what Warner Brothers and Universal does have. I mean, they have a theme park, but it's not Disneyland.
Nah.
It's an option, though, right? So, but again, that's still a thing where, like, there are ways to introduce these characters and who those characters are to kids. But I'll tell you, like, right now, like, one of the things that still bothers me probably the most about Marvel over the last 10 years has been Deadpool. Because my youngest daughter has still not seen those movies because I won't let her. She can't. It's not happening. Not now. Not yet. Not on my watch. Right?
Right.
If she's seen them, it ain't happened with me. Right? Perp said, I think if you look at just how Marvel movies underperformed last year and just people not rocking with Phase 4, there's a perfect opportunity for DC to turn the tides. I completely disagree.
Yeah, I don't think that'll work.
I completely disagree. I'm not saying that the sentiment is wrong. Like, I don't really think Marvel underperformed. It's extremely difficult. Even if you felt like you personally were disappointed with what you saw and what happened with Phase 4, please remember that so much of Phase 4 was all pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
If you can what the upswing would actually be in terms of people watching.
Oh.
All right, I hope y'all are still there. I'm I don't know, dog.
That was weird.
I don't know, dog. Wayne Tech.
Mm-hmm.
They know snap.
Straight up. It was like, what you say? What you say about Phase 4? Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not positive, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
But you can even really hold, like, they got movies that sold so well, it's ridiculous. And you still have to remember that that's coming out of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
That people still ain't going to the theaters the way they were, that everything is changed, and that streaming is now a big deal, and that streaming plays a lot into the amount of revenue that they bring in and what they calculate at their total. So, like, when you look at a movie now and you look at their total sales and you compare a movie that used to stay in the theater for 6 months and now it's in there for a month and a half before it's available to stream. And then all of a sudden they just get these dollars that come in because people are watching it at home or whatever instead of going to the theater. It's not even really about whether or not people are comfortable going to the theater because of COVID anymore. It's about whether or not people are willing to spend the time to go to the theater when they can do it at home if they want to. It's that kind of a change. It's almost the same kind of change we saw when, like, Blu-ray and DVD really started to hit, and they hit early enough. And there were people who would just be like, well, I'll just wait till it comes out at home. You know what I mean? And I'll watch it at home. Or I really want to. It's no reason for me to go to the theater anymore because I have surround sound at home now. Like, those things have had such a change on the way that society views movies and so forth as a whole that, like, you can't even really honestly compare them to the trajectory that they were on when they finally defeated Thanos. Like, that's it's almost like comparing apples and oranges. And then you combine the fact that you didn't have a choice but to go to the theaters to find out what was happening next. And now you have all these TV shows that you watch week after week. And so whatever they deem as successful for their streaming numbers or how many people are subscribed and those kinds of things are the same kinds of things that, like, DC wants to be able to do. That's what they're attempting to do. We got these TV shows that we're going to have. We're going to do the same thing Marvel's doing. But we have to do it in a different scale, and we have to differentiate ourselves. So in our stuff is HBO. if you got a kid that's under this age, I hope you got the lockout on because they're not watching, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ty said DC can't compete with Marvel, and they shouldn't try. They just need to stay in their lane, and win. I mean, again, look, my daughter still asked me the other day because she watched Deadpool. Nah, dog.
Not yet.
You're not ready.
Grow up a little more.
She's close. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's just some things, and it's almost like I'd have to go back and rewatch it. But it is one of those things that kind of is like a sore thumb for me because she's seen everything else.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Everything else except both Deadpools. So it's like even for her, it's like this lingering thing of like, I need to see it. So when you have these kids who are like, man, I would really love to see Batman. If it turns out that whether they go, I don't know, dog, because Damian Wayne is the best Robin, period.
Facts.
And there is, I mean, I'm gonna keep it a buck. If they do this joint right, we will see kids trying to be a sidekick again. Like they will be trying to go to Halloween dressed as a Robin, dog. Like that's never happened. Nobody wants to be Robin.
Unless it's Damian Wayne's version. Because he a beast.
Man, what? Slim. The potential is incredibly high. Still, he's a child who murders people. So you can't really give that to kids. You can't. It's one thing to stick it in a comic book.
But on the screen.
Bruh, you put that on the screen. If they do it and they make it PG-13, I think everybody's immediately going to be suspect.
Yeah,
because this is Damian.
The way he should be killing somebody in the first 10 minutes of the movie.
What? He need to be dropping bodies.
Hey, dog, if he fights Slade, if he one-on-ones, there is some potential here. And I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to keep it a buck. I like what I'm seeing. In the same way that I'm like, okay, fine, Marvel, I know you have mutants back. I don't want the X-Men. We've done it. We've seen it. Don't give me them again. I'll take mutants. Give me a different team. Give me different people. Give me, whatever. I feel that about this, right? Like, they're not going to not do Superman and they're not going to not do Batman. They could have not done Supergirl. But Supergirl's been successful for DC.
Definitely.
Over the past couple of years. You know what I'm saying? So, sure. People that have been begging for an actual Green Lantern, that's good. They have an opportunity here to clean that up. But people know Green Lantern. Do they know both of those Green Lanterns? They say there's going to be some other Green Lanterns sprinkled in. Cool. I'm with that, right? These other shows with characters that most people don't know or aren't familiar with or whatever, I think the success of those depends on how well they're tied into the other stuff. But nobody really knows anybody from the Suicide Squad. Nobody knows Peacemaker. They don't care. Waller makes them important. Who's to say they won't add some milestone characters? Absolutely. Again, and this is only part of chapter 1. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So
part of chapter 1. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but again, that also means if Superman is supposed to be the first thing to really start off the DCU, which is what he said, and that's coming 2025, and this is a 8 to 10 year plan. Are we starting there with the 8 to 10 years? Or is the 8 to 10 years starting now? Are we talking 2035 before this all rolls out? And if this is only the first part of chapter 1, right? Because What we don't know is if the 8 to 10 year plan is like 4 chapters, because
Right. We don't know how many chapters
could
it
be,
is. Yeah.
right? But if this is only part of chapter 1, I'm looking at everything that they have lined up here, and I'm thinking it's all out by 2027, 2028 at the latest, before we start getting the next pieces of what it's going to be. Who knows what that is? But I'm gonna tell you right now, if they do a Blue Beetle and they don't do a Teen Titans or a Young Justice, we fighting.
You definitely have all the
Because
potential.
if Blue Beetle is successful, they almost have to, bro.
Right.
They almost have to. Anyway.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, man, I want to thank y'all for hanging out with us this evening. It's time to wrap the show up. So, Jokes, you got a job to do. Jokes is doing his job, and while he's doing his job, Sin, you got a job to do.
Yeah, so let's shout out our top tier patrons, starting with Anthony Cunningham, Marcus Houston, Susan Dortch, Tyrone Carson, Meticulous Skin, and Alex Lee. Thank you very much. We truly, truly appreciate it.
Hey, look, for those of y'all who are unaware, we got Nerd Prom this weekend. Baltimore Soundstage. It's that Wednesday Raven dance. Come through. There's going to be a Wednesday dance-off challenge. Guess who's helping with the judging?
Hey.
Yeah, so that ought to be a good time. That's 8 o'clock. We'll do another post about it, but we'll just make sure you check out Transcendent Events, or do a search for Nerd Prom 2023. That ought to be a good time. And then we have some good things brewing coming up throughout February. Our first guest for Black History Month next week is the awesome cosplayer and photographer Harry Crossland. So he'll be hanging out with us next Tuesday. So look forward to that. Jokes. Is there something wrestling happening this weekend?
We're gonna be nothing major happening. SmackDown, of course, is Friday as usual. We are gonna be in the chat, so we'll be talking about it. We're gonna be in Discord, like me saying we were watching Raw. Sin, I'm sorry, I've corrupted you. I know this is at least through WrestleMania. I know you are committed.
I'm at least committed through from Royal Rumble to WrestleMania. I need to know. I need answers to some questions.
But we're gonna
get me, buddy.
But we're gonna be in the chat talking it up, having a good time for it. So by all means, everyone, joining with us. I know BP joined into the Discord, so I know he'll probably join us the next time that we're in there for it. But definitely having a good time with that. Should have the next episode of The Finisher going live next week. So for y'all that are not part of Patreon, y'all can watch season 2, episode 1 now. You guys weren't in, so you didn't get it early. But that'll be the biggest thing leading up to next pay-per-view, which will be Elimination Chamber, which will be next month. So we'll have a prediction show that we'll do for that leading up to it. And then we'll do the same watch along that we did with the Royal Rumble and have a good time with that as well too.
I don't want y'all to think that we forgot about The Last of Us. We are going to do a Spoiler Boys for The Last of Us, but we're going to wait until the show is over, and then we're going to do a Spoiler Boys recap of the entire season. So rather than doing episode by episode, like we have with most other shows, we're going to hold off on that. Though, probably the next major Spoiler Boys you'll get from us will be around Ant-Man Quantumania. So we'll get that done like by the weekend that the movie comes out. We'll knock that out and we'll be able to talk about that. So we can get your spoilers spaces ready. Jokes will put up a post like he normally does in MCU chat, so you have a safe place to talk spoilers if you want to. Before we get to Spoiler Boys, we'll make sure that happens. Sin, is there something happening in anime this weekend?
The biggest thing I would say that will be happening with anime, if y'all want to join us, usually Friday nights, Saturday nights, we'll get in and watch like the biggest shows from the week that has come out. You know, we'll sit down and watch them all together. That's a really good time. And the Crunchyroll Anime Awards are coming up They haven't given us the date when they're going to do a live event, because they are bringing back the live event this year because of COVID and everything. They've tucked it away. So when that drops, we're going to be streaming that live, and we're going to be watching it. But we're actually going to record our predictions, me, Marcus, Jokes, and the rest of the anime chat group. We're going to record our predictions to see, who we think is going to win best anime, who we think is going to get best boy, best girl, all that kind of stuff. And when it drops, the Patreon members will get it first. And then we will give it to everybody else after that. So if you are a Patreon member, you have that coming your way. And if you are not, go ahead and become one. That way you can see it before everybody else and see how you think of our predictions of what we think is going to win. So, yeah, stay tuned for that.
Dig it. Listen, we made a decision before we get too much further out. We decided that we are not going to Katsucon this year. I don't know. It just felt right to not go this year. So we're holding off. But there's some new shows that are coming up, and then we'll be talking about it again. We're gonna be looking. So each week throughout next month for Black History Month, we'll be having a Black creator on to talk and kind of pick their brain and see where they are with creating and all that kind of stuff. So planning to have some really good guests hang out with us over the next few weeks, and then we'll be looking to do the same thing the following month, going into Women's History Month and so forth. So keep your eyes peeled. There's a lot happening. We're busy, and we're gonna stay busy. We appreciate y'all hanging out with us and helping us grow, man. That's really what we want to do. So thank you so much to you all. Jokes, if you would.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. We knew if we went, Sim was gonna go broke. So, keep it. He can keep his backstepping at home. It's not happening in public. Jokes.
Mm-hmm.
If you would take us out, sir.
Yes, sir. So remember, y'all, just because you have a well thought out plan doesn't make it a good idea.
Hey, should I put that on a shirt? Let me know in the comments.
I thought we been said that.
Nah, but I don't know. But we said it. But if they don't say it, then I don't know if they'll get it. You know what I mean? So we gotta
valid.
Sound off in the comments.
I need to know. I need to know. We can make that a thing. All right, y'all. We're out. Toodles and lose.
Loading snacks.